speak on this forum, this floor. It was just on verge of the ceasefire on Friday morning, and we titled it as the press conference, Operation Protective Age, where to do here from here, how we go from here into the future. Unfortunately, we woke up on Friday to the sound of rockets. And now, without further ado, I would like to invite Minister of Justice, Cabinet Member, and Chief Negotiator, Tzipi Livni, to give her opening remarks. Okay. And later, we will be able to ask maybe 3 or 4 questions after your remarks. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
May I remind you that this is go live in a video conference for all over the world, so please be patient and wait for the questions, please.
Okay, thank you, and I apologize for postponing this meeting for a few hours, but due to the government meeting that the time was changed, and here I am now. I would like to start by saying that usually I'm here in order to speak about peace, about the peace process, about the future of peace for Israel and the Palestinians, and now I'm here in order to speak about a military operation. And I would like to emphasize that I do believe that peace with the Palestinians is an Israeli interest, that we need to do all the efforts possible in order to do so, in order to achieve peace, even though the last process that was initiated just last year, last July, we didn't achieve an agreement, and unfortunately we are in stalemate, or this process didn't achieve the target and the goal that we all shared, and the meaning was, or the goal was, to end the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. Now, I know that there are demonstrators outside of Israel, and I feel that for them it looks like, well, this is another round in the same old conflict between Israel and the Palestinians, and what needs to be done is just to renew the peace negotiations, to achieve peace between Israel and the Palestinians, and we can live happily ever after. So I want to speak with you to begin with some basics on the conflict and on what we are facing coming from Gaza Strip. Because, as I said, I believe that peace is the Israeli interest, and I am in charge of negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. And there are chances for peace with those on the Palestinian side, those who want to end the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians, those understanding that the conflict is a national conflict, and the only way to end this conflict is through or on the basis of 2 states for 2 peoples. Those that are willing to accept the right of Israel to exist, those who understand that the basis for any peace negotiations are former agreements between Israel and the Palestinians, mainly Oslo Agreement, and those that are not using terror and violence against Israel. Now, there are on the Palestinian side those that represent this goal, and this is the PA, the Palestinian Authority. This is Fatah amongst the Palestinians. We have, of course, disputes. We negotiated with them. We didn't achieve the goal, as I said, but yet these are our partners for peace. Now, on the other side, we have Hamas. Hamas represents something that is completely different. Hamas represents the conflict from a religious perspective. For them, they are not fighting for the creation or the establishment of a Palestinian state, but they are fighting against the infidel, which are us. And since this is a religious religious conflicts are unfortunately, well, it's more complicated to solve them. They are not willing to accept the right of Israel to exist, or our right to live here. And for them, a Palestinian state, 67 border, is just a stage, because they are maybe willing to accept this, but they are not willing to say that the meaning is the end of conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. Now, this is the basic, but it's very important to understand that amongst the Palestinians, it's a zero-sum game. because when Hamas is stronger, the meaning is that Fatah is weaker, and vice versa. And therefore, my understanding, and I believe that this should be also the right strategy, not only for Israel, but also for the international community, is the understanding that in order to promote peace, we need also to weaken these terrorists that are not willing to accept our existence here, and they are not fighting for peace or for the creation of a Palestinian state. And basically, these are two different sides of the same equation. Now, on the Palestinian side, this distinction also took a geographical dimension. I mean, we have the legitimate Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. Well, Gaza Strip is being controlled by Hamas, and this unity government is not effective now or in Gaza Strip. So what we are facing now is talking about the future or the day after the military operation. The decision is whether West Bank would be like Gaza, controlled by Hamas, or we can have a change, a real change in Gaza Strip. And I believe that we can have also a real change, a new order in Gaza as the day after the military operation, as long as not only Israel, but the entire international community would support the right measures to do so. Now, a few words about Gaza and the military operation. You know, and I supported the disengagement plan. Israel left Gaza Strip. We dismantled all the settlements. We pulled out our forces. And basically, we got terror in return. And Hamas also won the elections on the Palestinian side, but yet control Gaza. Now, before the military operation, we tried to avoid this operation. We accepted any ceasefire that was offered because or before the operation. Israel and our citizens living not only in the south part of Israel, not only near Gaza Strip, but everywhere, are being targeted by Hamas from Gaza Strip. But yet, we reached the point that we had no other choice. And I'm sharing this with you as a minister in the Israeli Security Cabinet. You cannot continue like nothing is happening when your citizens are being targeted, when Hamas says that it's going to continue to do so, unless his requests and demands would be accepted. And I will relate to this later. So we entered this operation even though we didn't want to. And also during the operation, we accepted all the ideas and the offers for ceasefire during the operation. We focused in the ground operation in our need to find and neutralize these tunnels, offensive tunnels that were their aim, and the purpose for these tunnels is in order to cross the Israeli border and to attack Israeli civilians and army on the Israeli side of the border. So we needed to focus on this, and this mission was mainly completed. But during this operation, we faced the problems of a state, democratic state, facing terrorist organization, and this is an asymmetrical war because, well, we are trying to avoid civil casualties, even though, like in any other operation, we have also on the Palestinian side civil casualties during the operation, but according to our values, but not only, we are acting in accordance to the international law. We are trying to avoid these civil casualties, while on the other side, they are using these civilians in order to prevent us from attacking them. And it is amazing because one of the Israeli soldiers found, I don't know whether you showed them, this book of that was found of one of the terrorists. that their orders are to use civilians because they know that we are trying to avoid civil casualties. So this is what they do, as using these civilians as human shields. And more than that, when they have civil casualties, they using it as a leverage on Israel to stop the operation. They use it as a leverage on the international community to call Israel to stop because there are civil casualties. Now, I would like also to give an answer to some of their demands, because I'm not going to negotiate this here. As you know, this is something that relates to the Egyptian initiative. At first, ceasefire, and then negotiating all this stuff. But I want to refer to some, because it is clear to me that Hamas is talking about lifting the blockade or lifting the closure when this is not the main goal or the main reason, or not even the reason for this operation. Because since 2006, Hamas could have lifted the blockade just by accepting what the international community asked them to do. Because when Hamas won the elections on the Palestinian side in 2006, the international community, the Quartet, put 3 requirements: to accept the right of Israel to exist, to renounce violence and terrorism, and to accept former agreements, peace treaties between Israel and the Palestinians. And this is the moment in which Hamas could get legitimacy from the entire international community, including Israel. But they refuse to do so. So basically what they are trying now to do is not to lift the blockade or the closure the way they call it, because I want to refer to it because all these years the crossings from Israel are open. But they want to get legitimacy as a terrorist organization without accepting the requirements of the international community, and to get legitimacy and to create Gaza Strip as a new Hamastan under their control without accepting something which is basis and also the basis for former agreements between Israel and the Palestinians, and this is demilitarization or non-militarization of all the parts of the future Palestinian state. So during these years, the limitation that we had on the crossings are connected to the fact that there is a terrorist organization on the other side, because the crossings are open for humanitarian needs, for food, whatever is needed. But it is true that we are checking all these materials that are dual use. I mean cement. You can think that this is something that it's part of building houses, but no. This is something that was being used for these tunnels, offensive tunnels against Israel. And the other part of the crossing, I mean Rafah crossing, is something that relates to the relations between the PA or Hamas and Egypt. So basically, they are based, when they are calling for airport and seaport and connection between Gaza Strip and the West Bank, this is the basis of former agreements between Israel and the Palestinians, the same agreements that they are not willing to accept. This is part of final status agreement that we are going to negotiate with those that represent the conflict, but from a national perspective, not a religious one, those that are willing to end the conflict, those that we negotiated with them before, and with them we are going to negotiate with them also in the future. So understanding this, hopefully, the right question that we should ask ourselves is not what Hamas wants in order to stop the fire or to stop targeting Israel, but what is the right thing to do. Because as I was speaking about the Palestinian side, saying that the distinction between extremists and moderates is taking place there, and it's completely 2 different things, and each one represents something else, this is also the division in our region. So on one hand, we have the camp of pragmatics, so-called moderates. Now it is Israel, Egypt, the legitimate PA, Jordan, some Gulf states, and others. And this is where the international community is, and the free world is, and the United States of America and Europe, the leaders of the free world, they share with us the same view of the need to achieve peace, the need to end the conflict on the basis of 2 states for 2 peoples, to reduce or to have a full cessation of violence and terror. Well, on the other side, you have all the extremists that some of them are in Gaza Strip, Hamas, you have some in Lebanon, Hezbollah, and you have all these new Islamists acting now in Iraq, in Syria. So we share the same interest with the free world. We share this interest now with Egypt. They understand what is the meaning also of this extreme religious ideology. So we should work together and create also and decide what are the goals or what can be changed the day after this military operation. And nobody can afford a message to these extremists that are killing civilians all over this region. A message of weakness is not acceptable. Nobody can afford to send them a message that those that are acting in terms of terror against civilians, those are going to get what they want. When we know that they are not representing the interest of these civilians that they are using as human shields, that it's not for them they are fighting, excuse me, but for their own legitimacy as a terrorist organization. So if Hamas gets what he wants, something which is not acceptable, maybe we would face a ceasefire for a while, but we can lose hope for peace. Now, the Egyptian initiative is very important because it is based on the understanding that at first we need to enter into a ceasefire and then to negotiate the sustainable ceasefire. Now, I believe that now this is the time also not just to speak about, how to achieve this ceasefire, but also to share together the goals and the interest of Israel and the international community. And I believe that it should be based on some simple parameters. Of course, one is cessation of hostilities. This is clear. It is also clear that, and Israel is now giving all the humanitarian stuff and aid that is needed in Gaza Strip, and this is something that we will continue to do without any limitation. Now, the day after should be based on one hand, providing for the economic and social needs of the people of Gaza and legitimate Israeli security concerns. So we need to help the people in Gaza, but not to strengthen Hamas, while on the other side, we have Israeli security concerns. I believe that, talking about the long term, return to Gaza of effective and legitimate Palestinian Authority control, this is something that is very important, with legitimate Palestinian government. The meaning is a Palestinian government that committed to the Quartet principles that, as I said, Hamas is not willing to accept. This is the long term, but beginning with, of course, Gaza crossings. And I know that this is something also that the Egyptians, when they are talking about Rafah crossing, which is between Egypt and Gaza, they are also talking about the PA being on the other side. Disarmament of the Gaza Strip of all illicit arms. And this is something as a goal that we can all share. It can start by preventing rearmament. Now, the good news is that Egypt in the last few months changed completely the situation in between Egypt and Gaza, so all the smuggling of weapons and goods that used to be in the tunnels between Egypt and Gaza stopped. So this is one way to stop smuggling of weapons to Gaza. And the other is by supervising and having a mechanism that prevent any rearmament of Hamas, and also takes the support that the international community would give to the population of Gaza without strengthening Hamas. We used to do it in the past. It's not a new idea. After Hamas won the elections in the Palestinian Authority, the EU had a temporary international mechanism that used to get all the money from all the donor states and to put it just in projects that are being supervised directly. We have something similar to do in the United Nations projects in Gaza Strip. So not only the money, but also talking about cement, talking about the dual use stuff. So it is being just connected to projects and being supervised. And this is also something that needs to be done. And as I said before, the equation or opening Gaza Strip in the future should be connected directly not only to saying just security needs, but also to disarmament of this terrorist organization, as is in all the agreements between us and the Palestinians. It's not a new Israeli demand. And of course, since I said that peace between Israel and Palestinians is essential, I believe, for the future of the State of Israel, so we need to renew also, hopefully, the negotiations between Israel and the PLO. And we'll discuss with them all the things that are connected also to Gaza Strip, like seaport, airport, all the stuff that are part of the list of things that we need to negotiate with as part of final status agreement. And I believe that by doing so, even by putting these parameters as the goal, as the common interest, as the common vision, it's not Israel against the Palestinians. It's not the world supporting Israel against the Palestinians or the Palestinians against Israel. It's supporting the good guys in these regions against the bad guys. As simple as that. And I believe that this is something which is needed, and maybe by doing so we can see the beginning by framing also the specific negotiations that now, not now, but that started last week in Egypt. It's not replacing the Egyptian initiative. It's part of it, and I truly would like also to express our appreciations to what Egypt is doing. I mean, they represent really it's their own interest, but also the understanding what we are all facing when it comes to these extremists. So by doing so, after all this troubled and problematic month, I hope that we can see a new order in Gaza. I don't know whether it's possible or not. It depends if we will all stick to these parameters, if Hamas would understand that they cannot gain by using terror. And if this would be the understanding, so maybe we have some chances for the future here.
Thank you very much, Minister of Justice Tzipi Livni. Now she will take some questions. Yes, please. Kalev, Bloomberg, yes, please.
Minister Livni, you said at the end, I hope we can all stick with these parameters. Can you clarify who is we? Is this a appeal to the international, to the EU and the United States and the UN, and these are discussions that are ongoing and they have not yet agreed to it? Is this a what exactly are you calling now from the international to accept those, say, 5 principles you've not put out?
I took principles that I know that the international community accepted also in the past. The EU just a few weeks ago said that the goal of disarmament Gaza, for disarmament all these terrorist organizations in Gaza, is a legitimate goal and need to be done. This is what the United States said as well. It's not a secret that all of them, all of us, want also to see the relaunch of negotiations, to see the legitimate PA taking control in Gaza. So basically, I just put in order, maybe in another framing, something that I know that we all share. And when you asked me we, I'm not going to be specific, but basically, as I said before, all those that are part of the pragmatic camp in the region should and can be part of these parameters, whether it's in one framework to this or just as principles that we all believe in.
Do you want public declarations from these parties?
I'm just saying about what need to be supported. I'm not talking about how and who.
John, Financial Times. Just 1 second, please. Okay.
This?
David? זה בסדר, רק תקרבי טיפה. John? John, Financial Times, please.
Thank you, Minister Livni. There is reports now that the Palestinian delegation in Cairo might accept another 72-hour ceasefire, indeed that they've offered one. And I was wondering if you'd heard about this and what Israel said about it.
I think that I would leave it to formal declarations coming from there and a formal answer coming from Jerusalem, but not this room.
Yes. Walter, please.
Minister, would we be in the same situation if we had not pulled out of Gaza? If we had stayed there, would we still have that war today? And secondly, in your experience with the Partner for Peace, with the PA, is it not a prerequisite to stop the indoctrination of the children who are growing up?
Well, of course, I completely agree, but I decided to focus today on Hamas and not, talking about what can be done also in the West Bank and by the Palestinian Authority. And I completely agree that in order to live in real peace in the future and not just to achieve a peace treaty, we need also to raise our children and their children based on the understanding that we would live hopefully in peace in the future. So I have my own criticism and disappointments on the PA, but yet I believe that in talking about what they represent and talking about what Hamas represents, it's a completely different thing. Now, asking about the disengagement plan, I think that we need to make a distinction between security needs and settlements activities. Because no, I don't regret the idea that we dismantled the settlements in Gaza Strip, because I don't think that this contributes to something in accordance to my view about the future and the possibility to achieve peace between Israel and the Palestinians. But yet, it is clear that the fact that we pulled out our forces and the fact that we showed restraint in the past was exploited and abused by this terrorist organization. But this is something about the way we are acting when it comes to Israel's security, and basically Gaza Strip is not going to be part of Israel in the future, so it's just a question of security.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Minister Livni, Isabel Kirshner from the New York Times. These parameters have been presented so far in the Israeli media as your plan, and I was wondering, particularly after the government meeting this morning, is this the government's plan, these parameters? Is the Prime Minister on board with this? And could you perhaps talk a little more about practically how you see a process for restoring PA control of Gaza beyond just the crossings or whatever?
At first, as I said before, I just gather I put on the table things that I know that the international community, those that share our views about the peace process and about the terrorist organization. So I took things that all of them I said this way or the other in the past, but I believe that it is important to say, okay, we share also the same vision for Gaza and the same goal. Basically, the principles I believe represent most of my friends also in the government, but since the focus now is on what's going in Egypt and what's going to be done there, I decided to put it in a more, as I say, by framing this, not just hope that this would happen in the future, but saying also to the international community, let's do it as parameters that we all share. So maybe this can help all of us to see these changes in Gaza also in the future. Now, it's not for me, listen, I'm not going to decide for the Palestinians what is the best way to do it. I cannot, I am also familiar to the limitation of what we can do. We are not replacing them there. But basically, since I believe that supervising the crossings is something that we share with the international community, having the PA on the other side of Rafah crossing is something that the Egyptians shared or are speaking up loud. So I believe that if we set these as goals, then the translating this into a more specific plan can be something that can be easier. Some Israel can be part of, some Israel should not be part of, but basically we all share the same goals, and the translation can be in different ways, and should be agreed also.
Last question, please. Yes, Maria.
Thank you, Ori Lewis from Reuters. Can you tell us if the Israeli negotiators will be returning to Egypt tonight? And specifically from within the room, do you get the sense that Hamas is in any way willing to acquiesce to the other Palestinian factions and from turning into bad guys, as you characterize them, become better guys? Or will they allow the Palestinian Authority to take over the Gaza Strip from them?
Well, at first, the question whether the Israeli delegation would go back or not, it depends on the other question that was asked. The Egyptian initiative is based on two steps. One is ceasefire and then negotiations. And since they stopped the ceasefire, or they didn't want to extend the ceasefire before, they are not there. But let's hear if there are some news. So it is connected to this question. This is one thing. The other, listen, as I said, we cannot ask ourselves what would Hamas accept. If they would understand that we are all together in this, and they cannot get what they want just because they use terror, but they need also to accept some parameters that the international community also set in 2006. It's there, it's not something new, it's something which is needed. So maybe they would understand that they also need to accept something which is less than what they want. About their relations with the PA, it's not, listen, it's not my business. Well, it affects my life, but it's not my business. So I'm not going to interfere in these internal political things amongst the Palestinians, but since there are those that negotiated with the other side, there are those saying that the PA is going to control Gaza, and Hania basically resigned, so maybe there are some hopes here, but I don't know.
I would like to thank very much Minister of Justice Tzipi Livni. Next time, I promise, okay? First of all, that she came especially from Tel Aviv to visit you, and second, I know for sure that she is from the good ladies, okay? That's for sure. Thank you very much for coming. Toda raba.
Toda, thanks.